against somebody from the SmackDown side. Seth Rollins will be challenging somebody from the SmackDown side at Night of Champions for the WWE World Heavyweight title. But in my opinion, WWE should keep the Raw guy and the SmackDown guy separated until Night of Champions, because there is a brand exclusivity in place, which means that even though they are competing for the world title, that does not mean that AJ Styles, let's say, can jump between Raw and SmackDown in the lead up to Night of Champions, because then that basically brings up the question of why the hell would you have the draft before Night of Champions if the plan was, to have a new champion crowned for the World Heavyweight title, especially if the plan was to have it between Raw and SmackDown. If you're not going to have them separated, then what you should have done was had the draft after Night of Champions, so this way that brand exclusivity wouldn't have been a thing, and you could freely have people on Raw and SmackDown competing for the World Championship. But that's just me. There is absolutely no reason why people on SmackDown should be competing for the Raw exclusive title if there's a brand split in place. There is absolutely no reason why that should be the case. And also, there is no reason why Seth Rollins should be jumping over to SmackDown in the build-up to Elimination Night of Champions. He could easily build up the show. You could easily build up the show and use the fact that they have not met face-to-face as a selling point for the show, because it's a brand split. Brand exclusivity is a thing, and if you didn't want to put it in place until after Night of Champions, then you shouldn't have said it was that the brand results would be in place after Backlash. It should have been where you said it was after Night of Champions. Continuity matters, consistency matters, and all that stuff matters because we pay attention to it. And if you want to do it a different way, all you had to do was, I don't know, hold off on the draft until the end of the month instead of the beginning. Speaking of things that they should hold off on, I don't want to that there's no reason why Becky Lynch should fight Trish Stratus at Night of Champions. There is no reason why Becky Lynch should fight Trish Stratus any time before SummerSlam. She doesn't need to. Becky and Trish could fight each other at SummerSlam. All you have to do is get past Night of Champions. All you have to do is get past Night of Champions. You get past Night of Champions, then you will be fine. Simple as that. You get past Night of Champions, you will be fine. Because you could put Becky in elimination in the Money in the Bank match, have Trish cost her Money in the Bank, setting up the official match at SummerSlam. Unless you want to do one match in Jeddah and one match at SummerSlam. But that's just my opinion. Because there's no reason why that you need to have another major match put in place in Saudi Arabia. Especially when the card is Night of Champions, and the point of the card should be making sure the women's tag team titles, the world tag team titles, the Undisputed Universal Championship, the World Heavyweight title, the women's title, that every title in WWE is given the spotlight on that night, because it's called Night of Champions, not Night of Dream Matches, where you have retired wrestlers come back and have matches. If you wanted that, then you shouldn't have made it Night of Champions. Every champion should be on the line at Night of Champions, because that's the point of the show. And that should be where WWE's mentality is, where Night of Champions, every title is going to be on the line at Night of Champions, because that's the point of the show. It's Night of Champions for a reason. Speaking of Raw, though, Gunther will be making his Raw debut next week, alongside a match between Shinsuke Nakamura and The Miz, after what happened this week during the triple threat match with Miz, Naka, and I believe it was Finn Balor. that they had that, and then Miz tried to partner up with Nakamura, and it didn't go well, which led to the match between the two next week. And also, tonight we saw, or last night we saw the return of the Way, which is what a lot of people expected. That with Indy Hartwell back now up on the main roster, and Johnny, Dexter, and Candice already there, it was fitting that WWE would go back to the Way, and Johnny, you couldn't help but notice Johnny reference somebody that would be back soon, and the fact that he's referencing somebody that's coming back soon means he's referencing Tommaso Ciampa. It will be... Apparently, there's big plans for the Way, according to Worked Wrestling. There's big plans for the Way on WWE programming, and it's music to my ears because that means there's big plans for Indy Hartwell. There is big plans for Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano, and Dexter Loomis. And hopefully, big plans for Tommaso Ciampa when he comes back, because seeing Steen and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn going up against Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa would be a bit of a holy shit, can't believe that match is actually happening type of thing. And I mean, I understand Dexter and Johnny would make a good tag team and it would help Dexter, but Tommaso and Johnny is the tag team that everybody wants to see. A reformation of DIY is what everybody wants to see, and it would help create more depth, much needed depth, by the way, in the tag team division. So I think that's something that a lot of people are excited about. That being the Way coming back, and the fact that WWE has a crap ton of plans for them, and and high hopes for the Way. And also, apparently, they've loved what they have seen from the Maximum Male models on live events as well and on the website. But for whatever reason, the gimmick has not taken over. I mean, the gimmick has not caught on the television, on TV. So that has stopped the Maximum Male models from really getting attention on television, like the company would hope, because of how well they're doing on live events and the internet. But hopefully, I mean, the amount of factions WWE have within the company is crazy for WWE because they usually don't have this many factions. But also, with the Way making their appearance, and what's it called? With the Way making their appearance and big plans for them, and the company having high hopes for the Maximum Male models, it is just everything's going in the right direction for WWE. As far as if you're in a faction, you're going in the right direction. You know what I mean? Or it sure seems that way, at least. But I think a lot of people have hoped since Johnny returned that Johnny and Tommaso would have some big idea of what they could do, and that we could see some potential. We could see the potential that we did not get to see from Johnny in his last run with WWE. And with Tommaso coming back and Tommaso being fully healthy, it seems like we might be getting that soon enough. With that being said, we got more news to get to, and I will see you in the next one.